So, of course, my computer wants to be delayed.
Thank you.
All right. So tonight we are not debating. We are simply discussing in raw passion opinions about this movie. I don't even know where to begin. I am so full of opinions right now. And please, at any point, feel free to comment, ask questions. We are here to answer them or comment on them of how we like or want to know what you like or don't like about the movie. So I'm going to start off by, I know I said I was going to be neutral. I'm going to give my opinion and then I will hush. Um, Personally, I was so disappointed in this movie. I know there's some people who absolutely adore it, and to each their own. I just felt like it was so fast paced. And granted, I have seen the manga or seen the manga. I have read the manga. I have watched all of the series, every episode. So I just felt like I could never connect with the characters like I could with the OG. Granted, I know that it follows the panels verbatim. But it's, to me, there were too many storylines that my brain had to try and follow. And at one point in the second part, I literally was like, I can't handle anymore. I can't. You can ask Matthew. We were watching it together. It was a struggle for me. And y'all can chime in at any point. Feel free. Bree, unmute yourself.
Hey,
Uh-huh.
I'm respectfully waiting my turn. I don't
No,
wanna.
this is a discussion. That's
No, no,
not
no,
how that
no. And
works.
I'm waiting for it to start. I'm good. Go.
All right.
Go, Matthew. Go.
Oh, okay. Well,
Matthew, I want to hear what you think.
I agree that it was hard to connect.
How dare you?
Y'all know my favorite is the OG, so I'm sure I'm a little biased, but just coming at it from, was this a good film? Was it well made as a movie? It was tough for me to connect to the characters, to understand the plot, or which it wasn't a tight narrative for me, so I couldn't feel anything when there was a redemption arc, or if something big was happening, like someone got their powers or earned an upgrade. I couldn't connect to that or understand what was happening because I really couldn't keep up with the story in general. So I was disappointed like Leanne was, because I just felt, I love the characters. When I watch Sailor Moon, I feel like I'm hanging out with my best friends, and my best friends weren't there in this one. So that's my quick hot take, and we can discuss that further later. That's my little quick Reader's Digest condensed version.
Well, I thought it was a really beautifully executed movie. It felt like a love letter to Sailor Moon, and it felt like a love letter to the fans. I loved it. It was very fast paced, but that's been an issue with the manga, and it's been an issue with Krisu because it's very hard, I guess, to translate the manga into a motion picture. So I feel like certain things get lost in that translation, whereas in the 90s, they had 200 episodes. So with all that filler, you got to know the characters. They got to, develop the characters. You got to relate to them more. It's kind of like, I feel like in order to enjoy it, you have to take each medium for what it is. It's like the Harry Potter movies, let's just say for the sake of it. Yeah. I personally hate the movies. That's because I read the books first. And there's so much that's left out of the movies. And it's like, all right, why should I care about, Voldemort or anyone? But recently, I just watched them with Akasha,
Yeah.
And I was able to appreciate what the movies did once I was able to separate it from the book itself. I was able to appreciate the movies for what they were and what their purpose was.
Hey,
I'd
can I
like to
chime
kind
in?
of jump.
Let me chime in really quick just to cover my bases so fast. Disclaimer, if you have not watched this, there are spoilers, so
Big
prepare
There's-
yourself.
Get out of here.
Spoilers ended
You
on
can,
the
by
11th.
all means, stay, but prepare yourself. Just putting that out
Okay.
there.
I'm the spoiler stickler, I guess.
Spoilers
know,
ended
I
on the 11th.
I kind of want to go back to what you just said, Taz, about how it's hard to take manga and put it accurately onto motion picture and get sort of the same result from it, which I think in this case, you're absolutely correct. But in the case of, let's just say, for example, other animes that have had original, like OG 90s or 2000 versions and been readapted into more true to the manga forms, like we've seen in Full Metal Alchemist or like Fruits Basket's going through right now. Those, in my opinion, and a lot
If
of
you
them.
had said Death Note, I was gonna be like,
No, I don't do Death Note. Okay, okay. Anyways,
Okay, okay.
Creepy.
I've seen other anime and manga, okay, manga specifically, brought to, you know, like brought to screen and finished thoroughly and done beautifully, but they stuck to the truth of the manga and given it the time that it was needed and put it into an extra season, even if it was just like, you know, a dozen episodes or something. They gave it all the time that it needed for you to continue to walk with the characters, relate to the characters, and, you know, be a part of their journey and a part of their struggle. That way, when they come through with their victories, you feel something almost just as much as the original character, which I feel was not only lacking in Eternal, but you said that you felt like the movie was a love letter to the fans. And I think that that's a beautiful sentiment from somebody who enjoyed the film. From somebody like me who actually, I'd say, loathed the film because of everything, that I felt so disappointed. The movie felt like a slap in the face to fans for me.
I agree with
For
that.
everything that I came into this movie with so many expectations, and I not only was left confused and with questions, but I was so just disappointed. I mean, I've rewatched them for the sake of this live, but I didn't even want to like tune in and watch them because I wasn't interested. It upset me.
Well,
Good.
I am. Well, I guess that's the difference because I went in with zero expectations, so there was nothing for me to be disappointed over. Like I was hoping it was going to be good or enjoyable, and it ended up being much better than I expected because the Dream arc isn't my favorite arc. I'm just going to put that out there.
But
That could be another
Okay.
reason we're on different planes, because Dream is one of my favorites. Nahelenia is one of my favorite villains. I think she's one of
Naomi is
the
also-
most substanced villains in the history of Sailor Moon. And I think that in the history of Sailor Moon Crystal, she's probably the most shallow villain now. Like, I don't have any connection with her. We lost all of her backstory. The connection and struggle between her and just Sailor Moon in general in the OG Dream arc was palpable. I mean, you could taste it. Versus this, I mean, they gave us so much teaser art of, you know, there were parallels of Moon and Nahelenia back to back, and then there, you know, the mirrors foreshadowing things. And I mean, I was just like, I was ready for something, and I was just kind of blown away at how flat and blasé everything was.
I was
I
talking
couldn't.
Years.
Lorraine.
I
and
couldn't.
Matthew. Sorry.
No, I'm sorry.
Lorraine,
It's
go
so
ahead.
weird, so that's important. Remember.
Matthew, what were you saying?
I was gonna say I couldn't. To Bree's point, if you asked me to describe Nahelenia from her character from Eternal, I really couldn't. I know she was in there, but that's really about it. Where if you ask me to describe Nahelenia and really any character, but we're talking about Nahelenia, ask me to describe her in the manga or particularly in the OG, I mean, I could tell you hours of stuff about her character, her fears, insecurities. I cannot remember anything about her, any quality about her in Eternal. I just can't remember anything.
The thing with Nene Chan, that's what I call her now, Nene Chan, is that she's just evil. She's just darkness.
Seemed more
Um,
insane in this than the other.
But-
Yeah, like
I
the
feel
manga is far less forgiving to its villains and antagonists than the 90s are. Like there is no second chances in the manga. Like you're evil.
I'm not even talking about the redemption arc.
Mhm.
And with Nailenia, like I like that about the manga, and maybe that says more about me. I'm not sure, but not everyone is redeemable.
I
Like you came out of your mirror and cursed a baby just because you were mad. Like who does that? Like
Maleficent.
like
I-
seriously,
yeah,
it
that's
had
what
it
it was
totally
like,
had Sleeping Beauty. And I was
fairy tales.
like for
Um,
me, I feel like both parts that should have been like a trailer. Like I don't feel like I was talking to Brie about it earlier today. I don't feel that
Oh my God, I
there's
just
so much detail left out. And maybe it's just my opinion. I don't think the manga translates very well on film. I don't. I don't feel like anyone. I felt like they were 2D. Like
I like
there was
to-
no personalities.
That
Yeah.
was like a big problem with the early season of Crystal, which I actually felt like these movies actually rectified. Because in season 1 and 2 of Crystal, Oda Senshi, especially Mars, because everyone knows that she's my favorite, but I
Mhm.
felt like they were just completely stripped of their personalities. They were just basically servants to Usagi. Like that's all they cared about was Usagi. Like they didn't have any interest in their own. None of that. Whereas I feel like this movie is also a bit of a coming of age tale because, for instance, Chibiusa. Chibiusa is one of the most divisive characters in the series. Like people either really like her or they hate her.
Mhm.
And same thing goes for Mamoru. I felt like you really actually got to know them and they have their own journey and their own arc in this one as opposed to in the first 2 seasons. Like Mamoru started his power journey in season 3 of Crystal when he used Tuxedo a smoking bomber for the first time.
Mm.
And I felt like the Golden Crystal was handled really well because they never gave him that opportunity to really show that he was truly powerful in the 90s anime. I don't know if that was in the name of girl power or just, shoddy writing, but just like Ami, they appeared to be two of the weakest members of the team instead of being known for their individual strengths and what they each bring.
I wish I could have seen that movie, but that's not the movie. That's not the movie at all. I wish I agreed. I really wish I agreed because you
But
mentioned
the
character arcs.
important part is Mamoru gained personality.
Oh, I didn't know where you're supposed to go.
Mamoru.
Okay, before we drop into this age-old debate, I want to touch on something Taz said about Nehelenia.
Oh,
You said,
didn't say that I was touch on something she said, but you
oh,
first.
I'm sorry, go ahead, Matthew. We keep
No,
cutting
no,
you
no.
off.
No, you go. I'm just saying I'm gonna do the same thing once you're done, but you go.
Oh, okay. You said your words were the thing about Nehelenia is that she's just evil, and that Crystal is less forgiving with their villains, or the manga is less forgiving with their villains, right? Okay. So I've not read all of the manga. I've read maybe the first arc or the first 2 arcs of the
Same.
manga. So correct me if I'm wrong, but I would say that that's not necessarily true because Beryl had a deep and penetrating backstory, and you only see that in manga and Crystal. You don't see that in the OG. And you follow her and you realize that she stepped out of place and gave herself up to Metalia because she was a woman scorned. She was in love and rejected. And then we move on to the next arc with, the Black Moon Clan.
Black
Mhm.
And they have been banished to Nemesis, and they're doing what they believe to be right, even though it's technically wrong.
Mhm.
And so they have their own penetrating backstory as well. And I mean, you're even at a point where you almost feel for them, especially when it comes to demand, and I can never remember his name.
Fear.
Saphir. So I mean, and then there's the whole Mistress Nine and Hotaru thing. There's that, and that's got one of the deepest
Yeah, that's my
stories.
favorite.
So I would argue to say still, if that is true, if what you said is even in the manga, Nehelenia is just basic run-of-the-mill evil, that's all there is to it, then I don't feel like I'm missing anything out of the manga either. Because, I mean, I think that if anything, they did Nehelenia right in the OG. I mean, she had backstory, she had growth, she had redemption, she had people affected by her choices around her. Her entire royal court was turned into that collection of Dead Moon circus freaks, which was one of my favorite things. It just plunged you even deeper into what she was going through and how far gone she was, that it was really affecting everyone around her. That I mean,
there were connections that were made where it wasn't just flat out like, okay,
exactly,
first the little baby.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, absolutely. That's what actually makes Nene one of my favorite villains. Especially in my second go around watching Super S, because she was layered, and it explained what jealousy and envy does to people and how it corrupts them.
Exactly.
Where in the manga and Eternal, it wasn't that deep. She was literally just the polar opposite of Usagi, whereas Usagi is light, she was dark, and her existence was simply just to banish the White Moon Kingdom.
But you see, I really didn't even get that from the movie. I just got that she was just kind of PO'd and she did some rotten stuff, and now we got to kill her. Like, it wasn't even as deep as light versus dark and pure versus evil to me.
And on top of
didn't go there.
And on top of like 5 different points or other storylines that we're all trying to follow.
Yeah, because we haven't even touched on like Helios and Chibiusa and all that stuff.
I love that so much. Helios and Chibiusa.
In this movie,
it's just really annoying to me, and like the original, because it was just like episodes and episodes, like 90 episodes of saccharine BS. It was just like, oh my god, enough. But this was quick, was to the point. We didn't have 40 episodes of Chibiusa seemingly wanting to be in love with a horse.
Let me tell you in a minute after Matthew why it's okay to have that many episodes about Chibiusa and a horse. Matthew?
Yeah. So 2 things. Now I got 2 things to jump off of what Tass said. So 1 thing, you mentioned the saccharine bullshit, and you have a point. You do. There was a lot of horse stuff in the OG, and some of it got a little weird.
Yeah.
Disclaimer, adult language is acceptable here tonight.
I don't know who said that. It wasn't me. Anyway.
You guys are supposed to be the grown-ups.
But about Helios and Chibiusa, at least for me in Eternal, none of it made sense. Like Helios at the end said, "My maiden I've always looked for, it's you," or something like that to Chibiusa, and it didn't make any sense to me because we hardly saw them together. There was no story. There was no relationship at all. Half the movie he wasn't even around.
Did you even see why he was looking for a maiden?
Yeah, I didn't understand that, and I didn't get
it either.
I didn't see
Get the golden.
it was too much the opposite of Supers. Instead of having all this saccharine, whatever, it was almost nothing, like no story at all. And in the end, they're supposed to have this connection, and I'm like, wait.
Well, they
Okay.
randomly threw in like Elysion or something like that.
Right, they just shoehorned it in.
Yeah, they didn't. There was no backstory. There was no explanation of what that was and why it was important. And honestly, like even I understand Momo had this gold crystal or whatever, but I was like, it just came out of nowhere.
And suddenly there were priests.
I honestly thought it was a mix of Super S and Stars,
which it should not have been if it was supposed to be eternal.
But it's not though. It's that's the fault of the writers that bungled Stars in the beginning, because that's how it ends in the manga. That's how Dream ends. Like, it was really surprising when they did their own ending and then carried it over into the next season, which gave Naolinea the distinction of being the only villain to be in two
And
seasons.
Yeah.
I will go ahead and say, Matthew, once you're done, like I do want to get to some of these comments that we're getting because like there's some really good ones. So continue with what you're saying.
All right, let me just say one other thing real quick because I do want to hear these comments. So the only other thing right now is Chaz said something about how, you know, the movie only had so much time for character development versus 200 episodes in the anime, and I get that. Except, dare I say, even in just one episode, Babe and I rewatched a couple of Supers episodes, and just in those episodes, even if I was really just coming into it, I in 25 minutes I could tell you all sorts of qualities about Usagi, Chibiusa, Shingo, their motivations, dislikes, reasons for doing what they're doing. I understood the characters just in those few minutes.
Yeah.
So it really, you know, I mean, there's development and nuance and a tight narrative just there. And I did not feel any tight narrative in the movie. Okay, comments.
Okay. We've got quite a few.
That's good.
One, everyone saw you trip, Lorraine.
Darn. That's great. I'm so happy.
Earlier, like when we first started. Matthew, they complimented your shirt. Let's see. Lion goes, I mean, they tried it. It got me to care about Amy for a second. I have
He's
to say,
right.
she had more personality in this than I think.
Yeah, she did.
I want to see
more
the
than
movie.
Crystal. More than Crystal, obviously.
Yeah.
I don't think anything can beat the personalities you get out of the OG.
I still think could have expanded more on that in episodes. And then
Yeah.
the random appearance of her mother and that being a story wouldn't have been as sort of like in your
Now,
face.
I will say I like that they added that in,
And Ray's grandpa being
but
hot.
it was way out of the blue for me.
Oh, and
What was up with that? Ray's grandpa. Why
And I'm
did
sorry,
that?
when did he become attractive?
Exactly. Like I was
Right.
watching it and I was like, who is this guy?
I was like,
She's
I was
like,
waiting for some
"Grandpa."
old fat bald dude.
I was like, that's not
Like,
grandpa. Why am I
he
attracted
had
to him?
disappeared,
No.
Honestly, he
From-
reminded me of Tomoe.
Oh yeah, definitely. Brother Tomo.
He had that
Yeah.
hot
facade. I don't know.
And he was hot. It's like, wow, grandpa's hot. Like, okay, cool. Like, and, like, you know, I wasn't in the
Oh.
room when no one was dressing. Like, am I gonna be the first one to say that? Like, Ray's grandpa was hot. Like, I can't
Oh my
believe people were
God.
just glossing over it. It was ridiculous. It made no sense.
Yeah.
Next
Well,
comment.
next one is we all know what Tim thinks because of I know most of the regular members don't, but 12 episodes, I totally see where this definitely needs to be at least 12 episodes.
Agreed.
See, the problem with that is, it's like, I think Danny said in chat, Crystal, they tried like expanding on it and it went nowhere. Like when they brought back like the 4 generals and then just killed them again. And then
Okay.
them
Think
taking
for a minute
the
about
sword
the
from
little
Venus
bit
to give
of
some more
story they
just
had
like,
in the first
okay.
arcs to work on. The only story they really had they were working on in the first arcs was the whole memories coming back and Tux being turned against the heroes. And so that was really the general base of the plot in the first arcs. So it what might not have worked for Crystal in the past might work in the future, especially if we consider how many episodes you've got out of it in the OG, all the things they accomplished in the OG, all the things they tried to accomplish in the movie and just scratched the surface of that they could have gotten deeper into with the episodes. They could have jumped more into the villain and her reasoning and Chibiusa and Helios and Elysion and the Golden Crystal. I mean, I will write them a list and send it to them, and I promise they can fill 12 episodes. Promise.
like it's it was truly a mashup between the manga and the anime. They could have done that. They could have taken the best of both and tied it up in a little bow. But I feel like they were trying really, really hard to remain faithful to the source material, which was the manga. And admittedly, the manga isn't my favorite medium. I find it boring, especially when it gets to stars. It's all over the place when they get to stars. in the manga. Like it's like just battle scenes and everyone. Sorry, Brie, for the spoilers, but it's like 30-year-old material now. But everyone just dies like this. It's like,
Oh,
oh,
that's
so aluminum siren Kane, oh, she's dead, and now so is Mars. Or like, oh wow, she's dead. Now Amy's dead.
It
Like
doesn't really bother me. They die
very
every arc.
quick.
It's fine.
yeah, no, like it's like 30 years, like it's
It's fine. They'll
like
just
in
bring
the
them back with the
70s.
crystal.
But
You
it
wonder
makes
if they ever run out of being like reincarnated or like brought back.
Are
Yeah,
we
they
still
only
on
get
comments? Because I have something to contribute when it's time.
Well, let me get through some more of these comments really quick.
Okay. I'm really interested in the comments too. I was just curious about where we were at.
No, because this is one thing that I did want to touch on. I do love the words
LGBTQ.
LGBTQIA plus, like the whole spectrum.
Representation.
Yes, the presentation was great. I love just the diversity of it, that they brought that out more. The only thing I have to say about that is in regards to the rings. They just kind of threw that in there, didn't explain what it was until the end.
they had like one little giveaway line that
I was
said,
like, that should have been like one of the first things, because I'm sitting here going, because they brought like, oh, they have matching rings, they must be married. What? Like, but then obviously, Setsuna, she comes in, she has a ring too. Obviously, for those that know the story, we know what it was, but those coming in fresh who don't know a thing about the storyline or the 90s OG, they're going to be completely confused.
And that's why you watch from the beginning. You don't jump into a book series or a movie series at the third sequel and expect to know everything.
I'm just telling you.
I can't jump in the middle of, let's say, the MCU. Now I'm just sitting here watching Loki. I didn't see Avengers. I didn't see Thor. I didn't see any of them. But yet I expect to know everything about Loki, despite me not seeing any of it. It's gonna feel shallow if I'm just coming in. Like, so someone just decided, hey, I'm gonna watch Eternal without knowing anything about Sailor Moon, because that's their fault. They don't really know what's going on.
But can you say
The Sopranos?
Standing alone, if you go in, you can't keep up. It honestly, I will go back to this and I will die on this hill. It is like it should have been the trailer to a movie, not the movie. In my opinion.
Trailer.
I swear we're the same person, Leanne.
3-hour trailer. That's what it was to me. Sorry, my
Same.
computer's shaking because I'm so passionate about this. It's literally like you
Again,
got 5 different directions this movie could have gone in. I'm supposed to be neutral. Sorry. I'm supposed to be Switzerland.
Yeah, you're not
You are not neutral.
doing a very good job.
Friendly one.
That's okay. Everyone's being good.
Yeah.
Um,
Let's see. I was honestly used to the faster pacing since I watched a whole lot of Crystal. Followed by it made Crystal look slow, which I totally agree.
Yeah.
Snail's pace.
Yeah. So if y'all did not know, Tim does not like Pegasus.
No,
Tim and I are gonna fight before this night is over.
Honestly, like I have to say,
for a number of
in
reasons.
supers, like the OG supers, I had my issues with Pegasus, like the whole
Used to with whiny.
Don't do this to me, Leanne.
Like, bro, like, what are you doing?
Don't do it. You either, Taz. Everybody stop. I'm upset.
Get over it.
I said I have my issues. I didn't say I don't like him, but
But she didn't say you love him.
well, I don't. I like
Yeah.
him.
I said stop.
It was just weird. It was like, okay, here's a flying horse. Now we have a flying horse, and the other Senshi, they still don't really know what's going on with this flying horse. They're just like,
They just
There's-
accept it. Like it's
The
normal. This is normal.
Totally.
Episodes end.
After everything they've seen, they're gonna draw the line at a flying horse now. They literally the last arc fought a villain who was part vacuum cleaner.
That's what they did. Like they didn't trust the horse.
And you expecting to question a horse with a horn that has wings? That's actually a mythological creature.
One with
Yep.
two.
You don't know if that's what they learned in school.
Yeah,
You don't know that they didn't.
But the point was, it was 30 episodes in the original and Super, so Super S, whatever the fuck. And essentially, like, we don't know who that dude is. Like,
Right
oh,
there.
he's
Oh,
finally gave,
Chibiusa does.
after seeing like
Back
Burning
into your
Man,
thing.
and if I saw sparkling white pressure one more time, I was gonna scream.
What?
The 90s,
Okay,
bam,
y'all are
those-
hating on my boy, and I'm getting that point. Everyone needs to remember.
fault. It's not his fault. That's the writer's fault because they wanted to make Sailor Moon, Chibiusa, and the Outers look much stronger. So the other fourth century were neglected with their powers. Whereas, as we saw in Eternal, they got them much quicker than they did in the original iteration. Like we never even got to see Mars and Mercury and Venus transform into the Eternal versions. We just got to see Sailor Moon do it.
Yeah. I will say the one thing I do like about the arc with Pegasus is that it softened Chibiusa up for me, where she's not this bratty, pardon my French, this bratty bitch
Oh,
that's
God. Yeah.
constantly annoying Usagi versus just, and Usagi, yes, annoys her, but it just, I don't want to word this. It
It
makes
developed
seem-
her.
Yeah, it develops her character, but it makes her seem more likable, and
Yeah.
Well,
that
so
I can grasp. This movie, The Eternal, I didn't get that. I didn't get to see her grow up a little bit, because it's like we go automatically to her swooning over Pegasus. For what reason?
and then when they kiss, all of a sudden, it's just like
Yeah, that kiss was awkward to me.
there was no reason for that. I mean, in the first one, you had enough relationship progression between them for it to be believable and for you to be like, oh my gosh, it happened, and like forget for a minute.
I mean,
that,
and granted,
yeah,
I
it's
don't
the
think you need that.
Pegasus.
I don't think you need all of the OG's like episodes to grow that relationship, but
Not for just that relationship, but trust me, we'll get into that in a minute.
Oh no,
all right, let me get back to these comments.
watched it for the first time, like I said, I had a really hard time getting through us. Like I remember just skipping so many episodes just to see the Tenchi evolve into their super forms because it was just going on.
Well, yeah,
And-
that was great.
It was exhausting.
Yeah.
Fireworks, I swear.
Amateurs.
We have a member who says, I know that they stuck close to the manga, but I didn't like Crystal. I like 90s Sailor Moon better. Personally, I feel like 90s had more depth and personality. The movie was more things happening left and right, and it was so fast. And then another was like, this was my first time experiencing the story, and it was great, but I can get how the 90s could have been better. Filler is better, or sorry, Sailor Moon filler is better than Sailor Moon canon.
I
Crystal,
agree.
good.
I agree with that
And I
part.
do agree with Lion. He said that it was adequate in his opinion. It wasn't near the hype as it had brought up to be, like with the trailers and whatnot.
Big agree. Big agree.
Let's
I
see.
wasn't even hyped on the trailers.
Polina goes, Nephelania was whack in this film. She was portrayed of being for the sake of being evil, which made her boring to see on screen. I had more fun seeing the Amazon trio and quartet in comparison. I agree with that.
I do agree.
Definitely.
It was
And then when you
cool.
think about it, the Amazon Trio and
Yeah.
Quartet weren't even that interesting either.
Okay,
Yeah.
but even with the
Oh,
first
well,
one,
because they're not ready yet. We're not supposed to even see them until the next one they finally
mhm.
assist Chibiusa. Like
They didn't have a story.
instantly awakened them.
And
Yeah.
Marcelo actually had like a really good point. It's something that I actually didn't notice because I didn't honestly. I don't even. I hardly remember seeing Luna, Artemis, and Diana.
Yeah.
And
The-
I'm gonna get on Diana in a second.
Watch out, Diana, she coming.
Well, the whole I got a point. He said it's like I like the fact that Luna had a British voice actress. It really portrayed the cat as a higher class royalty type. When she spoke.
When-
She
in the
had she had a
90s?
British
She was
no
British accent?
Yeah, I
in
see.
the movie.
She did?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't even notice that. But the British
I didn't notice it either.
don't sound more important because they're British. Let's get that out their head right now. Just think that.
Let's see. To be fair, I haven't read the manga. I just feel like the older cast should have been asked about voicing and reprising the roles. Crystal was poorly written, too fast paced. I wasn't emotionally invested in Crystal. And
Mm.
then Tim brought up about Ray's grandpa.
Right, he's hot. Like,
Put on a Danny fanfic.
oh,
Is that the love child?
I immediately went and bumped that fic in honor of hot grandpa.
All right, back on topic.
Like, it was great. I can go on about hot grandpa forever. Don't get me started.
Oh my gosh, they wrote that in there just for you, Taz.
Yeah.
I don't think I'm that special.
Let's see. Remember in the 90s, Anime Ray had a thing for Mamo. Was that even a thing? I don't believe that was a manga thing. I think that was
That wasn't canon.
was
Let's just put it in
completely
there.
90s filler.
I think that was to create like first interest from Usagi when she was that episode where she was kind of stalking their date.
I think it was meant for to make the audience want Usagi and Mamo to get together.
That too, yeah.
More.
Because her showing any interest at all, it kind of get to spark in you like, ooh, what if they were together?
And
Like they
it kinda
tease each other
creates
so
that
much.
jealousy in Usagi, because I think
Yeah.
without Ray, that wouldn't have happened.
Well, it's funny because one of the things she says, I know you guys watch the Japanese, I watched the dub, and she's like, and a guy that age dating a middle school student? That's totally against the student handbook. That's one of my favorite lines. I'm like,
Yeah.
Well, it's like
it is.
Supers when Mamo has his college friends.
Mm-hmm. And they're like, oh, she's not a real girlfriend.
It's like, and they're asking her, like, and Matthew and I watch the subs. So
Mhm.
they're asking her out how old she is, and she's so immature she doesn't realize the question, and she's asking, or she's like, "Oh yeah, I would love some more cake," or something like that. And then like,
Yeah.
"Oh, like how
Like, I
old
was
are you?"
actually asking
Like,
your
"Oh,"
age, yeah.
and she's like, "Oh yeah, I'm like 14," and they're like,
Does it say 14 in the Japanese? Because in the dub it says 15.
Is it-
15.
Yeah, she had her birthday after that, so she should have been 15.
in the subs it said 14. I promise.
That's, yeah, wow, they messed up.
Unless they messed up with like the closed
Unless they
caption.
did it on purpose. They're like, we'll just throw a year on her so they don't yell at us.
Yeah, because when she had her birthday in season
Get out of
3,
here.
obviously she should be 15 by now, because I know in the manga, Ray is 18 by the end of the manga.
Yeah.
She's 18 by that point. So it
Yo, I'm
also
trying to keep up with these
that
comments.
weird
Ooh.
gap with them. But one thing I will say about Usagi and Mamo-chan was that in this iteration, it actually feels like they were together because they loved each other, not because of some sense of obligation or a
Yeah.
duty. You could tell
Yeah.
they genuinely
To see the movie you saw.
because a lot of people ask that question: are they even together because they want to, or because they think it's fate?
Oh,
Oh man.
We've had that discussion many times.
I want to
We've
hear
had a discussion.
Matthew's.
Yeah, I want to hear Matthew's take on that too.
Well, in the OG, I think it's perfectly obvious that they are together because they love each other. I mean, they spent countless episodes making that clear. Just in the Aelin on arc, it's very obvious that they love each other. In
And
fact,
in
they
my
literally
opinion, that is the best arc.
they literally spell it out and say it, and they say Mamo has fallen in love with you. So that's your answer. Done.
feelings
I
are
don't
in.
think so.
I mean, there's
Sorry,
multiple
yeah.
episodes, even in the Dream arc, because they need all those episodes for a bunch of different things. And one of those things is to elaborate into Usagi and Mamoru's relationship, or the
Absolutely.
multiple episodes where they just little pin drops here and there of just mentions of their relationship, or times they're just walking together. Or I mean, Usagi even says, "Oh, I would never doubt Mamoru's love for me" in that episode with
Until she
Sayori.
did.
And when did she doubt his love for her in
Mostly
the
his
Dream
way.
arc?
We spoke about that too in the chat. was when she was really secure, when Chibiusa was like, you need to grow up or mama's gonna like the other girl. I think it was Rika, whoever it was.
Sayori.
Sayori.
Yeah.
Sayori.
That girl, that boy.
That's his
whatever.
college friend.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And Chibiusa berated her in the store, telling her she needed to grow up and mature. And
Right.
Usagi didn't get insecure, she faked it and said,
That's
of
right.
course I don't question his love for me. Help me pick out which one of these stupid pig things I want. Like she didn't
Right,
care
and then-
because she knew
Right.
that there was nothing to
And
doubt.
then they also undid that, like in the
When?
episode when she was really
The ninja episode.
the ninja episode. Yeah.
That's bad
It was,
writing.
she went from being like super secure, like, oh, he's not gonna leave me, like he loves me, blah, blah, blah. And then it's like,
Could
oh,
that have
maybe
been
he's
because
gonna
he
Ray.
was
And
staying
all
with
this
Ray
is-
and he and Ray have a history?
Yeah.
Apparently,
Well,
it's
Tom,
he's
that's the
stuck
point.
in
That
her
was
head.
consistent writing.
He's stuck her. He has a history of stuffing on her head. Like, but it was like it went from really solid type writing to her being like really secure to her like just crumbling. I thought of
Yeah.
like
Hmm,
another girl.
that's
And
true.
then we go into stars, right? Now,
You
this
didn't
is the
wanna
problem
vote
with
for one.
with stars. So I know this person loves me, right? I don't hear from them in forever. But yeah, I think that's totally normal. That they're gonna ghost me for months on end. I'm
So-
not worried. I didn't answer my phone calls. I've been sending letters like almost every day. But I don't see anything wrong with that. Whereas
doesn't think-
it was demonstrated in the beginning.
See,
that
I
she
mean,
was-
she's trying to stay strong and she's trying to be supportive that he's in a new country, he's in a new chapter of life.
you know,
I mean, I'm not saying, no, I'm not totally disagreeing with you. I'm just trying to kind of put myself in her shoes right now. And
Also, like,
I
he
mean,
didn't know his dad.
I'm
trying
insecure.
to show
Yeah, so I'd have been
maturity.
sus from day one. I'd have been like, what is going
Right.
on?
What is that?
like,
Huh?
yeah. No, you're absolutely right. Like, but you know, she's just like, oh well, he didn't call. Like, I'm gonna be like, dude, is he okay? Like, what happened? Not just that, like, oh well, this person's probably like really busy, that they can't even just, you know, call or send an email or whatever. Really
Mhm.
quick to be like, hey, I'm alive. I totally didn't die in a plane crash. Like, that didn't happen. Like, some creepy
gosh.
face didn't take my fucking sailor crystal.
No,
So I'm
Something like that.
to me, 'cause that's not really how you treat someone you love, where they think that behavior is normal.
we
I
do have a question. Go ahead, Matthew.
well, I was just gonna say, real quick, whatever inconsistent writing happened, I still think it's very clear throughout the OG series that they love each other. Like Bree was saying, through multiple episodes and all the different series, they make that clear. It's not destiny, it's not obligation, it's not because Moon Princess. They love each other. Just with the birthday story in episode 3, it's obvious. In the Al-Anon arc, it's obvious. In Stars, it's obvious. I mean, it's very simple to make this case.
Because if it was so solid in stars, and Seiya wouldn't have been able to like just slide up in there, and people take it out on Seiya like it's their fault.
Okay, Taz, we are not here to talk about Saya
Yeah, let's get back really quick.
because we'll
let's reel it in
for
just a
all
second.
night.
And
Seiya, all right, let's do it.
The panel,
Fight.
we do have a question or they want to know something. It's like watching the 90s anime. Did anyone on the panel really think Michiru and Haruka were really cousins? My innocent mind thought they were. The whole time I was thinking, I wish I had a relationship like that with my cousin. And looking back, I want to vomit. So to be clear,
That was
they
Well-
don't want this kind of relationship with their cousin, but
I was a kid going, oh my gosh, I wish I had a cousin like that. They'd be so close. We'd have
so
such
I
fun.
think minus Lorraine,
And I
minus
asked,
Lorraine, we all grew up in the 90s.
was born in
Yeah.
the
90s. So honestly, like I was what it was like 92, 93.
Yeah, I wasn't born yet.
Shut up.
I was born in 93.
Oh,
Jeez Louise. I started
born in
kindergarten in 93.
You what?
I started kindergarten in 93.
Aww.
I started kindergarten in like 94, I think. I don't remember. It was a
But-
long time
But
ago.
regardless, it's like, I mean, we weren't exposed to all of the possibilities of, how people want to present themselves.
Yeah.
So I really did think that they were cousins. I was very confused that, like, I was like, man, these are really close cousins, but okay, cousins. Because we saw the dub, we didn't see the sub.
Akasha watched it the other day. Last week she was here. And so we watched the dub for the first time because I haven't really seen the third season of the dub,
Mhm.
the original 90s dub.
Clover Way.
Yeah. And I was like, Akasha, do you think they're cousins or do you think they're girlfriends? She looked at me and she was like, they're girlfriends. I'm like, okay, thank you. Like, they know that they're, like, that's not normal behavior for cousins. Like, and
But there were a lot of households with some confused cousins back in the 90s.
we're from the north. So that don't,
That don't mean shit.
we don't do that here. They
Well,
act like couples. They weren't cousins. You saw that.
let's get back on track because I do want to make one point of how
And they're about
literally, you know how each Senshi they got their crystal powers. So like I have to say I do like Mars is probably the best because it does show Phobos and Deimos. Like I feel like that was the best. And then all of a sudden, when it comes to Mina, boom, somehow they don't even show that Artemis turns into a freaking human.
That would be weird. Seeing a cat turn human.
Sorry, we've seen it before in the movies with Luna when she turned into a freaking human. Like
Which
that's
the
not
movie with Luna actually gave an explanation as to why she turned
yes,
into a human.
and
Artemis
that was
turned into a
manga.
human.
Okay, but
FYI, hold on.
Morph.
I am very passionate about this part because in the very end, Matthew literally had to tell me that's Diana. I was like, who the hell is that?
no, like I mean, they were about to drop a rock on a cat, so I was just like, he's like, oh shit, these niggas is really dropping the rock on me. Let me turn into it.
I'm dead ass sitting there. Who the hell is that? Because like they completely skipped like probably 5 scenes for that to even happen.
No, they didn't though, because
How the hell did she even get there?
the manga.
How the hell did she? No,
paid.
what did she twitch her nose like Bewitched? I mean, come on.
No, she's competing, and she knew she couldn't transform. But
And she
damn,
didn't even who Diana?
like, are we still talking about Artemis turning into a human, or
I'm talking about Diana at the very end. All of a sudden, boom, she turns into a freaking human with still a tail. With a tail, like she didn't even turn all the way.
That was probably a nod to furries. Probably.
Well, Diana, isn't Diana
No, I'm
kid?
sorry. I'm just trying to catch up with y'all. Y'all talk. Whew.
You think it's because she's a kid?
Yeah. I
Okay.
think it's because she's a kid, so she doesn't know how to fully turn into a human.
Say this again. Stop brainwashing your daughter.
I didn't say anything to her. She watched it. She was
Mhm.
Colored my fingers.
even Joe, our friend, watched it, and he was like, and he's never really seen Sailor Moon, and he really loved, like, he sat
Yes.
here in Akasha's Peppa Pig chair
I
and
don't believe it.
her first movie. He didn't.
I think so.
What do you really think so?
I don't
You don't remember Joe sitting here watching Eternal with us and after like I was fighting to get it on the computer?
Would have liked to have had more information as to why in a situation like that Artemis could opt to turn into a human
I
to
would've-
save her, and then he just turns back. There's no question about it. There's no Artemis, you're a human or you can transform. Nothing. It's just thanks for that one, Artemis. That was a real close
Y'all
one.
remind me.
And then boom.
How did Mako? How did she get her crystal? I can't remember.
Because Hawkeye, they attacked her by the ring.
Flower room.
Yeah.
The flower.
And she had to again remember her purpose and what her true dream was because all of them were disillusioned at some point. So they couldn't connect with their inner power. So Mako had to remember that she was super strength
They all
Jupiter.
died. Animal, they died.
What are you talking
The
about?
hallucination thingies.
The what?
The trio. things that were attacking Scalar South, Sailor Souths.
Who, we're talking about the movie. The watch on the TV and not the DVDs.
I mean, when the fish person,
Fish eye?
Yeah, Fish
No.
Eye.
fish eye. Okay, Tiger Eye. I still don't get how they transfer through mirrors.
Akasha, let me see your beautiful face.
We don't know either, sweetie. We're still trying to figure it out.
They didn't explain that about Tiger's Eye, but he was just a mirror artist. Like he was a circus act. So that's why he was in the mirrors.
But the thing is, Hawkeye, Fish Eye, and
Tiger's Eye.
Tiger Eye all died. They were animals. Why didn't they just turn back into animals? They died.
Because they just killed them.
Yeah.
He's like,
Yeah, I mean, if someone attacks you with a fire arrow, whether you're an animal or human, I think it's gonna take you down.
Yeah, but they're still. Taylor South.
Remind me not to explain the concept of death to my kids when Taz is around.
What happened? I mean,
I'm gonna leave it there.
It's true. Like, but yeah, no, like I felt like again, it was just as much as a coming of age story as it was anything else. Like them finding, their own and growing into their own.
I really need to see that.
Normal South outfits.
Because they transformed and they got stronger. That was their stronger form, the eternal form. Wait, what are you talking about?
I thought they had like as many forms as Sailor Moon should.
They
have.
did, which we
Wait.
didn't see. Yes, they did. They had their
Quiet.
regular form, then they got their super form, then they got their princess form, then they got their eternal form.
Okay.
Yeah.
No,
at the end.
Matt, no.
Matthew's got
Yeah.
words.
I remember that.
Bree's sitting on something too, in case y'all are wondering.
Getting on
Go
something
on.
too? Okay. Well, we're ready to go then. Well, so first off,
No,
That's what you said. There was like 3 different forms that happened, 3 or 4 during the course of the movies.
There should be a
and the
Chibi
course of the manga,
series.
yes, and the movie.
There should be a
Okay,
Chibi.
so see, that's amazing that all that happened in just that relatively short amount of time. I think that's too quick. You said coming of age story. I wish I could have felt that, but I didn't feel it because I felt like I couldn't describe the characters at all. I couldn't describe Rei, Usagi, Ami-chan, and I know technically we know them, but still, I'm watching the movie to enjoy the movie, and
You still
I
have to
couldn't
gain a
tell,
connection.
yeah, I couldn't tell you anything about any of the characters at all. Nothing. They were all just there. And I didn't feel the coming of age story. And I felt like it was just, instead of one tight narrative, it was 18 million narratives all trying to happen all at once. There was a little teeny thing about Chibiusa wished she was older and Usagi wished she was younger. Obviously, I know what they were trying to do because we saw it in the OG. But unlike in the OG, where you had
They
this
saw
whole
it in the OG saw it in.
you had this whole mini meditation on the quartet giving Chibiusa a shallow version of what she wanted, and the whole thing was she couldn't talk to Helios because she didn't really grow up. It was just, it was a child's idea of growing up, all of that, blah blah blah. We didn't see any of that in the Eternal arc. It was just them being different sizes, and that was it. And then they went on to something else. There
We
was
could
no
have literally done without that. I
there was
think.
no impactful moment. At least to me, it didn't mean anything. It was just, oh look, they're different sizes, and then that's it.
Yeah, no,
When-
it was
Oh,
pointless.
I did
I
that.
agree.
Yeah, and in the OG, there was a whole thing to it, and there was a whole
Yeah.
narrative on growing up and what, a child doesn't quite understand what it means to grow up. She just thinks it means I'm getting bigger. So,
Bigger.
Yeah, no, but that's true. But again, that's the problem that I have with, again, the manga, and I have with Crystal. Whereas usually it's the reverse for me. Usually I prefer the book over, the motion picture. But the manga itself, it does like little things like that where it doesn't really go anywhere. Like they were a kid, because I was surprised when I read the manga, especially that part, because I think it was actually one of the coolest parts in the 90s was that little swap they had going on. Like it was interesting. But in
Yeah.
the manga, it was literally just that quick, and it was just like, okay, there was kind of no point to that because Shibuya wasn't impacted. They were able to transform.
I-
It made
I'm
sense.
glad, I'm glad we agree. And I think that's my suggestion is maybe they should have done a little bit of adaptation. That's my thing, is maybe it shouldn't be completely, literally 100% ripped from the manga. That's
Yeah.
my thing. The whole movie. Why wasn't there any slight, subtle adaptation? Did it have to be verbatim?
No, because that's what made the original so great was that it wasn't verbatim.
Right,
To-
and maybe that's what they should have done this time.
But I guess fans are hard to please, as we can tell.
Sure,
Fans
absolutely. Not everyone's going to be happy. But they could
exactly.
have.
So
Bree, I know
they-
you're waiting.
I feel
Okay.
like they go ahead.
No, it's okay. We're off topic of it now. I'll wait till it comes up again.
Oh,
No,
damn.
no.
Or another
Nope.
comment.
Nope. Go ahead.
Okay.
Oh wait,
No, it's-
well, we were me and Martello were talking about how in the 90s the Amazon tree. Well, first off, I have to I love the fact that because Tim was talking about how Mako got her powers back or whatever, that she dreamed of opening a plant shop and they did refer, this is the first I actually caught this, I don't know if you guys did, where they actually referred to Hawkeye using they and them pronouns.
Oh yeah. I know. I
You know,
know.
that was awesome.
They.
So I actually am very proud that they used proper pronouns.
which really stands with General Sailor Moon because Sailor Moon has always paved the way and been the
I think Sailor
biggest.
Moon was so before her time, like her its time. And I know this is kind of going off topic just a little bit, but the fact that it was taboo in a way in the 90s because it was so like conservative thinking, if you will, versus progressive. And I just love the fact that now it's almost like a slap to all the conservative thinkers. It's like, you know what, screw it. This is how it is. This is what we're about. And if you don't like it, you can kiss my ass.
And it was so normal. They didn't make a big deal. They didn't
Yeah,
make a
it
big
was very, it was
just-
very like, this is who they are. That's who they are. And that's totally okay.
Yeah, and it didn't feel like pandering, which a lot of pop culture makes the mistake of doing. Whether
Yeah.
it's a Black character or LGBTQ character, it feels like pandering. This wasn't. It was just a normal part of everyday life. But that is one thing I do like about Eternal. I forgot that was in my head. But despite it being written and created in the 90s, is that it felt very modern and it felt relevant to the time because of things like the pronouns.
Yeah.
And I thought like the like cell phones, they're everything now. Cell phones, social media, they're such a huge part of life now. Can't imagine living without it. But despite them not having like, these technological advances, the movie still felt fresh and modern, like through their wardrobe, how they behaved, through the use of, the proper pronouns for both. It still felt very within the times. It didn't feel dated at all. And Mamo didn't have on that ugly pink jacket, those pants.
No. That's a disaster.
Fight the villains. And like mostly the villains are stronger and harder to beat. So it
Mm.
takes a while for them to beat the villains.
Right, instead of being 1, 2, 3.
Yeah, because in the actual like disc, it took them like a short amount of time to beat the villains mostly. Except for like the doctor's harder villains.
Yeah. Yeah. It's like the Witches 5. Someone has said that
Oh,
the set and everybody felt shallow, but the Witches 5, they only had like 1 or 2 panels. Like they had 1 for each girl, just like they did in every song. I feel like a lot of villains, they don't really get a lot of screen time.
Yeah, The Witches 5 and Crystal was that was very blah too and not
Like
very lacking.
I really want to hear what Brie has to say, but I do have one thing, and
Go ahead.
Are you gonna live?
Maybe.
Okay. One thing that Matthew and I both noticed is like there are obviously certain, I am not shaming any other Sailor Moon groups by any, like, let me go ahead and make that very clear. The outfits in part 2, coming from someone who loves fashion, I'm sitting here as like your Sailor Pluto admin going, what the hell is she wearing?
Okay,
Yeah,
but they
that
were
was hot.
So
Girl, she was
outside of
straight
the
up wearing fishnet.
personality.
Yes, it was so
Come on.
like, yo, she was hot,
I-
dude.
like,
She
Her outfits.
she looked good, but it wasn't Setsuna.
It,
Yeah,
it,
it really
it
wasn't.
honestly wasn't. First off, they backtracked like, or one of her memories, she's literally in a science lab
Yeah.
coat. And then all of
But,
a sudden she's in this like seductive looking, like, I mean, she's literally wearing a bikini and a fishnet top over it.
She's
Like,
the one
like-
that holds the whip in the
She's
trio.
supposed to go and club with.
and then I'm sorry, when like oh god, Hataru is sitting there like doing her little whatever in the floor.
And Haruka's
I
right
can't-
next to her.
And she's literally unbuttoned her shirt. Her bra is, or
Yeah,
their
that's
bra,
literally-
their bra is like out and all about. It's like some people can make just sexualizing the characters, and I'm not sure how I am taking it right now because like I'm sitting here going,
I mean,
Seemed
I
to touch
don't mind
gratuitous.
that.
I think
People are gonna say that regardless. Like, I have a friend, my friend James. He won't watch Sailor Moon at all because he feels like they just sexualize the characters way too much for their ages. I don't agree with that at all.
I can't really.
Yeah, I don't. I just think he's being foolish. But people are gonna say that regardless. And Satsuna, she's the oldest of them because I know she's at least in college in the OG. So I didn't feel like it wasn't like, Chibiusa wearing something like that. But no, I thought her outfit was
If
dope. I totally
Chibiusa wore that,
Huh?
if Chibiusa wore that,
Chibiusa was
Mama
at
was
one
sending her
point
back to her room.
Chibiusa was at one point just sitting on the bed in Mamoru's t-shirt and her legs out, and I mean she looked like the morning after.
yeah,
I'm
that's
just-
true.
She
I'm
was
just
the best
like,
teacher
I
of
love
the school.
that mom or whatever, but like, where the hell were her pants? Come on.
okay, but
Yeah,
who
no,
would
it's
be
not-
upset?
It's not sexual unless someone makes it sexual because gosh, she'll put on her dad's t-shirts and she's just in bed. Like, I didn't see that being like too like fresh or or sexual, but that's, I don't know. I guess it's normal to me, so it's not really a big deal.
I mean, if it's like it's a little kid, where their shirt is like down to their ankles. But okay, that was just my
Stop attacking me.
one off topic. But anyway, Bree, what? Speak, woman.
I wanted to get to the point that everyone likes to say that the dream arc is way too long. And I think as far as like the canon source material goes, yeah, I think that it's definitely way too long for what the source material provides. But I think for what they did in OG, I think that they really handled it well because we have to remember that the main character all this time, obviously, is Sailor Moon. That is the show, Sailor Moon. And what we learn in the arc where we first meet Chibiusa is that it's Usagi 2.0. It's little Usagi. She's going to grow up. She's going to take her mother's place. She's going to take the throne. She's going to hold the silver crystal. She's going to be the new queen. And one of the coolest things about this show for me that I've always loved is that I feel like even when it's all over after Stars is over and they're zooming out in that last scene and she's like giving her collective speech and it's over, I don't feel like it's really over because we've watched so many time jumps throughout the show that I know where it's going after that scene. I know how things are going to end up, where people are going to be, how things are going to close out, and that's really cool to me. So, but I only know as far as like Usagi goes. I think one of the reasons that the OG Dream arc is so cool is because it's very Chibiusa centered, obviously, and we need a lot of that because we don't get an entire series of a future Sailor Moon where Chibiusa is the main Usagi, which would be cool to have, but we don't get that. So I think that the reason they give us so much in the Dream arc, so much filler, so much side action and so many different character relationships all through Chibiusa's eyes is because they're kind of giving us a snippet of what a future Sailor Moon series could be. Like everything through Chibiusa's eyes, everything with Chibiusa is kind of the main character because in every episode, one way or another, it kind of comes back to Chibiusa. It's her perspective or her lessons learned or, her growth or whatever, her relationships, whatever. And I mean, even in the end with the whole princess transformations and stuff, and then the kiss with Helios, you kind of get an idea of who her love interest is going to be, when she grows up. And like, I think that it's captured super well with all those episodes when you keep in mind and consider this is the future of Sailor Moon. This is what we have to look forward to when it's all over. And I just think people get so angry at the fact that it's so long. And I think that people are just so quick to just judge it because it's so much filler. But if you ask me, I mean, my least favorite arcs are the first few arcs where it's just day-to-day life at Sailor Moon's high school or Usagi's high school with like Naru and Umino and, the Monster of the Day stuff and all that. I mean, and it's not because it's bad material. It's good. It's it's worthwhile. You should watch it. But I like to get into the action of stuff and watch the story unfold and progress. And I think that, I don't know, I think that maybe why I'm so reverse on that is because it's cool to watch what could be happening through Chibiusa's eyes and imagine her because we all know that Sailor Moon's going to give up the mantle and she's going to become Neo Queen Serenity. She's not going to be Senshi anymore. And at that point, the new Sailor Moon is going to be Chibiusa. And how cool is that we got to walk with her through her growth and on her path to become that Sailor Moon. And I don't know, I just think that the Dream arc gets such a bad rap because it's not, I don't know, it's not as exciting or it's not as fast paced as the other arcs or as broken up as the other arcs or something. I don't know. But I think that we have a lot to grasp and a lot to learn out of that arc that it feels to me like every little episode counts.
I know, I like it much more now, but when I first watched it, I was just like, I can't believe this is still happening. Like, it was too cutesy for me in the beginning. But even though now I feel like the cutesiness was kind of an illusion for all the dark stuff that was going on behind the scenes.
Yeah.
Like, I appreciate it much more now as an adult because honestly, the reason that they made Chibiusa like the focal point of Supers was to not lose their audience because they felt like Sailor Moon was getting too old. So
I
I
want
think that they were trying to transition into the new generation. Like,
yeah,
and that's also where
the audience, like Akasha, like she was the prime age for, the Chibiusa arc.
Yeah, like Chibiusa and the Amazon quartet. Like, but I feel like that story even was lost.
100.
Eternal.
Because in the Eternal movie, because they went from the enemy to now they're Senshi themselves.
And they just threw a backstory in there to validate it, and it was just it just lacked substance.
Yeah, Matthew, you were about to say something.
I was going to say two things. One, I want to jump off of what Taz said, then what you said, Leanne.
Okay.
To Taz's point, I initially I thought Supers was okay. I didn't really like it, and the second time, and forever, I actually think it's great. I think people sleep on it. Yeah, there was some cutesy stuff and a little too much Pegasus, but overall, particularly the later stuff, I mean, it's a really tight narrative. It's an amazing story. A lot of deep meditations. The Nehelenia stuff was incredible, and by the time you see the end, where Chibiusa shoved off the whatever, I'm in tears. I'm really feeling the whole story. I think it's brilliant. It's a brilliant, underrated arc.
Absolutely.
And to your point, Leanne, about the Amazon trio and and to what Bree said, I think we see the characters, but we don't get any the redemption arc they threw in for the quartet felt unearned and just kind of shoehorned in because we didn't really get a chance to know the characters. You can't have a redemption arc if you don't understand them. There's no redemption because we don't know anything about them. And the trio too, I hardly remember if they had a redemption or any sort of ending. If they died, I really can't remember. I have no idea because
Right. Well, Hawkeye's was actually the most fleshed out. Actually, all of them were. Fisheye was the most shallow of the trio in Eternal. But Hawkeye, when he said to Jupiter, it was like, well, pardon me, but they said to Jupiter, was like, at least I got to live out my dream. And don't forget.
I do physically, I remember that. But the fact that I can tell you everything about their arcs in the OG, and I can't tell you anything in Eternal. If I think I can remember the lines like the one you just said, but it's not connected like it did in the OG. That's
Well, 'cause
my,
we
that's
had, like,
I think
30 episodes of the trio being creeps. Like they were all so creepy. Like they all made me so uncomfortable in the 90s. Like, and even up to the point where in the Viz dub, when Hawkeye is attacking the older lady, they're like, in the name of the villain, I can't forgive you for sexually assaulting someone. It's like, whoa, what the whoa. Like they actually say to them, they were
I
so
don't
dramatic in the 90s
Yeah.
that that's the line that Chibi said. And Hawkeye's like, I'm not sexually assaulting anyone. It's like, yeah, this is awkward.
Yeah, there was a dark movement I made with, to your point, Tiger's Eye was essentially forcing himself on Naru, and it was about to get really real. And I made that a Dark Moon moment. Like
Yeah,
We
had to
literally
put-
just watched
they
this
forced
episode
themselves,
too.
all of them. They forced
had to put
themselves
a
in all
trigger
their
warning
even the way that they
Tiger's Eye was
had
good.
to okay, so for instance,
Fisheye
The
was the
person-
creepiest in my opinion.
I agree with
yeah,
that.
it was a child involved. Like, oh,
Yeah.
Yeah, I
It
remember
really
that.
made my skin crawl.
yeah, no,
Fisheye, Tim has brought it up multiple times that what a just
I was gonna
disgusting
say
representation Fisheye.
Tim
I
has
mean,
definitely
Starlight
said-
Sweet
have
Know
you
as
read the
well.
comments?
Yeah, we're here for you, Tim. We're speaking up for you. But
yeah,
Fisheye just used
listen,
their fluidity to take advantage of people, and that just painted such a negative light on the whole trans community at the time. And then who's gonna speak up during something
Well,
like that being
Let
normalized?
let me bring up Tim's comment because I think it's very, very good. He said Fisheye is in the OG fed into that bullshit transphobic trope of a man posing as a woman in order to prey on men. That's incredibly problematic for the trans community, and I totally agree. Actual trans people have been attacked and even murdered over that. I
yes,
think it gives society such a negative opinion of trans individuals that it has definitely harmed that community in more ways than I think most people realize.
it was horrible, and it also plays into the narrative that trans people and
Yeah, that there's some
and
like
LGBT
ill
that they
intent.
used to prey on children.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's just
Yeah,
it's
that's
And Marcello said, I remember in the anime, Fisheye tried to steal some guy's boyfriend. It's so interesting how open the Japanese were into LGBT representation when it was considered taboo in real life, and kind of still is or with the older Japanese generation, which is very true. And I think we've talked about this with Danny privately
Yeah.
before, where it is extremely taboo. I actually had the opposite opinion. I thought that they were more open to it.
I
But
thought that as well.
I think that's the newer generation coming in. They're more willing to discuss it, but behind closed doors. It's still you not to be publicly spoken about. But granted, I will tell you, this is something so off topic. The Olympics are obviously going to be in Tokyo,
Mm.
and it starts in 23 days or something like that. Sailor Moon has actually been considered a sponsor for
One of the ambassadors. That's right.
That's so cool.
So just FYI, a little bit of nugget for you guys.
Officially an ambassador.
But back to
Indeed.
the topic at hand. Sorry, I just had to get that out there.
no,
But
that's awesome.
Marcello did have a question, and this I think I remember correctly, but he said, did Princess Serenity even have a father? And I can't remember in the manga. I don't think they mentioned it either. I can give you all the mythology background behind it.
How was she
But
born?
I guess she's like Wonder Woman and she was made of clay. I don't know. Wonder Woman was made of clay. Why do you think she was?
Didn't they say Apollo?
yeah, I was gonna say mythology
Yeah,
says
she's
it's
made of
Apollo.
clay.
I
Sam,
thought they
She's
mentioned that at
made
the end of
of
the first season of Crystal as
clay.
well.
I'm gonna mute
Something
this.
about Serenity and Apollo. When
We can look
when
it up.
Usagi was on the moon with Luna and talking about how it was Usagi's place to take up the throne to Silver Millennium. And I thought that she had said something about Serenity and Apollo ruling before her. Or
I
something.
don't think Apollo ever ruled.
Or like,
Yeah.
I don't, but I think he was in that like conversation. Because Serenity, yes, Serenity ruled, but I don't know. Why am I thinking that? Is that, I don't know, and I have to rewatch it. Oh, crap, I have to rewatch it.
Oh,
Yeah,
fun.
I don't recall that. I would have to rewatch Crystal again.
I swear I heard
not
Apollo
that
in
I
there
really
somewhere.
want to.
I could be thinking of Aquarion, but I'd never watch that again. Ugh.
No, but I mythologically Apollo would be, but I mean Sailor Moon's not a mythological creature or individual. It's just Celine.
No, but they play on a lot of mythology.
Well, hold on. I take that back. Celine and Endymion is legit a mythological character. If you want to, I've posted it before. I think like at least twice by now. The history of like the Silver Millennium, that and you can look on was it Tuxedo Unmasked as well.
Freedom on this.
This one I have confirmed that is true, that they get King Endymion and Celine or Serenity from mythology. It's a legit fact. And then they were like supposed to have like ruled for like millions and millions of years ago. So anyway, side note.
Yeah. That's what makes Chibiusa like so unique in the universe because there's no one else like her. That's why she has issues with growth and coming into her own power
Yeah.
because she's a union of the earth and the moon. So that's why there were so many issues with her obtaining her crystal, which I'm gonna point out in Super S versus Eternal. She gets her own crystal. She gets her pink moon crystal. Whereas in Super S, they nuked her and they nuked Mama. Because we heard about the golden crystal, but we didn't know that it was sealed in Mamoru. They didn't give us that. Chibiusa instead got the golden dream mirror.
Mhm.
Whereas in Eternal, they were both able to grow and have their own seal of crystals and be a genuine seal of scout, to the point where Mama was like, I feel it's burning in my chest. It's
And
passion.
remind me, because I don't recall, but did Momo get a golden crystal in
Yes.
the manga? So that's completely BS.
Yeah, he did. He got his golden crystal.
Okay, so he did. Okay.
Mhm.
Yeah. He
I
got his
couldn't remember that specific.
pink crystal.
I
Um,
feel like it tied into like, or they were kind of like hinting and winking and nodding to stars. Like we had the golden seed or star crystal, or
The
whatever.
star seeds only exist in the anime. Like I said, in the manga, Galaxia is just straight up going around taking their sailor crystals. Like star seeds aren't a thing.
Yeah, but what I'm saying is like I feel like, again, like the lack of background, like I don't think anyone coming into this with like virgin eyes, let's say, about Sailor Moon would understand anything. Like it's so much thrown at us at once. And I mean, I know we keep going to the same argument, but your brain can only take in so much.
Yeah, it was a sensory overload to a degree, and that's coming from people that know it really well.
Yeah. So
I'm a
like,
fan of that.
and I can imagine, or I can't imagine like how much, like how lost someone would be if they come in there not knowing anything before.
Yeah, it's a lot.
So
I was like, I'm not diving into One Piece. Like, I'm not diving into One Piece at all because I don't even know where to start on
Mm,
One Piece. Does anybody here watch One Piece? Because they're like at like a million episodes now.
no,
If I
it's really long.
I'm not gonna know what's going on.
Lorraine, what are your thoughts?
Thoughts on which part
Huh?
exactly? Which part exactly?
What did you not like? What did you like?
Oh, okay. Well,
Uh-oh.
that's
Are you drawing?
no.
I was.
Question. I liked a lot of it, obviously.
Expand, woman, expand.
I'm trying to expand. Shush. I didn't hear Luna speak, which was
But
weird because she usually talks. Or did she? No, she talked.
Well, they were like they had their command, and that's one thing too. Obviously, it's a little different than the anime. The command center is different, obviously, but that was in Crystal, so I can accept that.
Yeah, and she talked in that area when what's her face?
Diana tried to leave, and she told her to stay. Like honestly, and Lion said this earlier. He forgot Luna was even in the show or in the movie because
Luna was there, but I didn't know if she
they
talked.
had such a minor role in the movie. Like I was actually surprised. But I mean, I honestly forgot that that the cats were even a thing until like at the very well, those honestly, I feel like there was only 2 areas I remember them. And that was when they were at the command station when I don't even know what was happening at the point. And then at the end when well, obviously when Artemis changed into a human.
See,
And
there
then,
was more than one.
huh?
There was more than one.
Well, that's what I'm saying. There's like so many different things. Like I would have to watch this movie multiple times. But every time I'd have to watch something or focus on something different because there's so much to take in.
it's hard to get invested with each rewatch for me just because it's like I keep trying to get into it and like think, okay, maybe it just, the first time I watched it, it was just so much and you get so excited and overwhelmed, but then you watch it again and again and you're just like,
I like the darkness.
can't even focus on it. There's just too much and it's just me being upset all over again.
Yeah, I think that's really well said. Again, I'm a fan. Y'all have all seen my post. You know that I focus on the minutia and whatever. And this was just too much. Because I like the character development. I like feeling like I know these people and can follow their adventures, likes, dislikes, passions. And I just couldn't get into that at all. I didn't know anything about them. If I was just coming, well, no, what I said first made more sense. I couldn't understand them, their motivations, their passions, likes, dislikes. So nothing hit. The redemption arc didn't hit. The battles didn't hit. The coming of age story didn't. I didn't see any coming of age story. I didn't understand. I saw them get their dresses, but it didn't make any sense to me. It didn't have any meaning to me.
It
was
came
just
out of
something-
nowhere and we were just expected to accept it.
They were
It was
princesses.
something that happened, and that was it. Like, oh, that happened.
Like I understand like when all the Senshi got the coronation part where they all turned into
Mhm.
princesses.
See, it makes sense.
It happened in the manga, I get it. But it happened like that. There was no
Yeah.
easing into it and
Very simple.
understanding why.
Yeah, that's what they
Because you
needed too.
They were soggy.
Like and like some people they won't even know like who like guardian like for Pluto,
Still-
guardian of Charon, that's like the biggest moon circling around Pluto. And Pluto is always a planet. If any of you ever say it's not, I will fight you.
It's not.
I will fight you.
It's not.
My gosh, just said for those
Bree. Hold on. We had this talk earlier. This is not what you said.
I have
No,
one
it's not
word for
saying
those
it now.
people who don't know carry on. It's
That's
that
valid.
word, but
You know what? I want to bring up an inconsistency that has really been plaguing my mind. I cannot get it out of my head. I don't understand it. The last time we saw the Senshi in the crystal version, they
Mm.
were like at odds because they were really against the mission to take out Hataru.
Didn't
And,
they
I
get
mean,
over that though at the very end?
barely, barely,
I mean, they got
Barely.
over it, so
Right,
barely.
they need to expand it on. No, they got over that really quickly. Like they
Okay,
made like
hold
someone
on.
in no context.
yeah.
Like
See?
make the point. They're like, oh, that didn't even happen. And I had to and I had to literally take a photo of them. They're like, okay, this is our new duty. We're going to raise Hotaru as our child. And because our mission is done. Like they defeated the
They
outer Space.
barely got over that.
No, they were pretty much over it. Like
Okay, all right, fine. Let's say, all
personally.
right, let's say they were over it.
all of
They were
us
not over it enough to be like angelically idolizing the outers like they were in the movie. When they were in a spot of danger, they were looking to the outers in their mind as if they had some like just otherworldly connection somewhere in this, which they wouldn't have had time to develop that because we saw their whole relationships on screen. There was no time for anything off screen because from the time we saw them on screen when they met to the time that they parted ways when the three went to go raise Hataru, there was no time for them to get Ami. When she looked back, she saw Pluto, and Pluto was talking about how she was like the leader and she was the brains behind the operation and whatever. And it's just like I'm thinking to myself, okay, I guess maybe they had a conversation like that. And then there was this connection between Mars and Neptune, and I'm just like, I don't know, in the OG they had a little bit of a, you know, in Stars their connection there, but I'm thinking as far as Crystal goes and their relationship in the previous season, I don't feel like that made any sense because they were all kind of pissy with each other over their missions. I mean, they literally got into a fight on a rooftop with each other, and then at the very end everything was sort of resolved and then everyone parted ways.
And
Why?
go
What is that? Is everybody fighting
I
a
mean-
Turk or Snowman or something?
No, I remember like I
They're
felt like they
going.
got over their differences
The
quicker in Crystal
baby.
than they did in the
Wow.
90s.
Hold on, Lorraine, what are you saying?
Obviously, this is Pooh, Michiru, and Haruka, and Baby to live in the house. And
That
then
is not a house, that's a knapsack.
it's a house.
It's like a purse, maybe.
It's a house.
Honestly, it looks like a big rock, but you know.
Or a melting snowman. Anyways, I don't feel like there was enough time for them to have one, gotten over all their differences, and then two, have some like amazing like relationship develops off screen. If they've been out in this house in the wilderness all by themselves, how could they have had any sort of like deep heart to hearts and all that for the
Yeah.
Senshi to be pulling back on this experience and being like, you know, Haruka, give me strength. And it's just like, it doesn't make sense to me. Everyone was like, oh, at the end when Minako's going crazy over her upset, like she was so upset because she couldn't transform or whatever. And everyone was like talking about the outers, like they were just like these, it kind of drove me crazy.
Was like, yeah, so what? They're not even here anymore. Why do you care?
I mean, I don't remember who said that, but I mean, props to them because yeah, they're not even here and they don't even really like you that much. And like, just calm down. You guys were literally fighting in the last arc. Like, you guys are gonna give me a head rush.
Right.
You know, Mina was like, nah, like, fuck them. Like, they're not here. Why are you guys still thinking about them? Like, that was what Minako said. And that's because she didn't get her transformation from any connection with them. She got it because of Artemis.
Did
So,
it ever
like,
say why they couldn't transform? That made no sense.
And they watched, their
in-
battle was over.
Mhm.
Uh-huh.
And they were blinded to their true ambitions and their true dreams.
Mhm.
I guess
Yeah,
That was never said
That
in
was not
the
clear.
movie.
Yeah, and the release it wasn't.
it was said. It was stated many
You
times.
feel it.
Like, that's why the Sailor Power Guardians came to them. It was like, look, I am you. Remember who you are. this is your mission. And they're like,
Nobody who. Okay. Anyway,
like that's what they came for. The little silly. I think those were silly and kind of cheesy.
That's
But again,
never happened before though, so why is it
what happened in
happening
the
now?
manga? Again, it's just what they do in the
it
manga.
just does
Every-
not translate well on a film.
yeah,
But
Yeah.
I'm gonna cut us off here really quick. Because it's getting close to midnight.
Do we
Yeah.
have any like more comments or questions?
Just I think about like Sailor Saturn and Tim says Saturn is the strongest. Marcella said I would not underestimate Sailor Saturn. She was one who took out Mistress Nine, and Mistress Nine was like the most powerful in the arc, in my opinion. And took Sailor Saturn to destroy her, and even then, Mistress Nine was powerful enough to possess her. That's true. But we do have to wrap up. So really quick, I want us kind of all to kind of just recap like our general, like broadly, what you like the most and what you wish you had seen. And then we'll have to probably call it a night. So Lorraine, you want to go first?
Sure. I like the most was that's
I know
hard.
it's hard, isn't it?
I know. There were so many good stuffs.
Stuffs.
Yeah, that's my problem.
I know.
Yeah, same. Oh man.
You know, me come back to you.
Yes, please.
Okay.
Oh, I mean, again, I just think if you're a fan of the manga, you'll like the movie. If you're not a fan of the manga, you're not gonna like it. You're gonna think it's boring.
What did you wish you had seen?
Oh,
Yeah.
I got everything I wanted. I'm pleased with it. I like that they were setting up for stars. I know someone's gonna say, "Oh no, they weren't," but they did. They're setting up for stars, and I can't wait to see them and how to execute the stars arc with the Galaxy Cauldron and all of that. So no, I'm solidly happy with it for what it is.
All right. Bree?
I wished that I would have gotten more Nehelenia and more from where she was coming from. I wanted more of the tension and relationship between her and the White Moon, and I wanted more of like her goals. I really wanted more of I call them Heliusa because they're a big ship of mine and I love them to death. Don't fight me. I really wish I would have gotten more of them because they're amazing and I loved their relationship in the OG. And I don't know, I guess what I liked about it was when it was over. No, I'm just kidding. I really did like the music, and that the new adaptation of the Baby Love song is just like so good. So I guess that's all I can really say.
Brain,
What?
back to you.
Oh, okay. I wish I could have seen more of the cats. I want to see more cats.
Okay, what did you like the best?
Oh, and I wanted to see more of the background story of what's her face? Pigtails.
Nehelenia?
No, she doesn't have pigtails.
She
Yeah,
does.
she does.
Oh.
She got like double buns on her head, girl. Where you been?
What's her name?
Fingers.
Sailor Moon. I want to see more of her backstory.
You
Um,
forgot Sailor Moon's name?
yeah.
The star
Sorry.
of the show.
Sorry.
Get out. You're done.
No.
Tina and
Does not
Usagi have a
approve.
falling out
No.
But
right here,
Not
right
allowed to
now.
be together blonde anymore.
I did like the whole darkness of it and the whole plot and how that had,
And
What?
lack thereof.
dark and cool.
Matthew.
I liked that there was new Sailor Moon. I like that it's bringing Sailor Moon back into like front and center into consciousness. It's all over Twitter, all over social media. I really like that. I wish that it was a tighter narrative and a more cohesive story. I felt like it was 5 different stories. So I would have enjoyed. I wish I could have enjoyed the movie better. And with a tighter story, I think I could have done that.
So I feel like I do like the fact that it's bringing Sailor Moon back to the forefront. And that honestly, I really love the animation. I did. The computer graphics were by far the best out of the OG and the Crystal. Each one had their kind of own specific look. I didn't like that it felt so crammed and so rushed. That I really just, when I watch a movie and being that, and I'm sure most of us like here have studied theater at some point, or film, or have some kind of concept. I just feel like you have to connect to a character to really enjoy and really get the story. And there was just so much missing for the backstories that, again, if someone fresh off the street just wanted to watch this, they wouldn't know what was going on. And I feel like that kind of did Sailor Moon as a franchise an injustice versus actually getting more people involved or wanting, or more people interested in actually Sailor Moon as a whole, because there's so much Sailor Moon can offer, from representing the LGBT community to being progressive in it and being accepting towards those communities, along with even, throwing in, Black Lives Matter, just overall acceptance of anyone and everyone. And I feel like it just kind of threw away an opportunity.
I didn't even say Black Lives Matter when there's no Black people in Sailor Moon.
Oh, I'm talking about inclusiveness and solidarity and being like accepting towards, and being just.
Oh yeah, but no, like there's like no, I didn't expect that for them because there's like no Black people in Sailor Moon. Like we don't exist in that universe.
That's one thing I wish that would like
It doesn't bother me.
do,
though.
like, another 3,000 years,
Yeah,
or
no,
another
like,
1,000 years, and like the next Queen Serenity is gonna be, Black or a person of color, regardless of what color,
Yeah. I mean, like,
that would be cool in my opinion.
the closest we got was like Iron Crow. That's the closest like there is.
I'm sorry, Pluto is a little dark skinned.
Yeah, I mean, I would say like Hispanic, but in terms of like Black people, the closest, like, or even like South.
She might have some bargain.
I'm really Turkish or so, like Middle Eastern, Hispanic.
But the general concept is that Sailor Moon is all inclusive of all.
Yeah, and I feel that despite them, like I was just thinking that would be pandering if they were just say, BLM when there's.
No, I was just bringing that in. Just
Yeah. Oh, it was awesome. It's actually 12:02. It's my nephew's birthday, so I have to call him.
Well, we also need to just wrap it up in general, but I hope you guys enjoyed it. And hopefully it won't be 3 months till we have our next live. So any requests or anything, please leave in the comments and we will try our best to get to them. All right. Good night, guys.
Good night, everybody.
Bye.
Bye.
Oh yeah, Bree, we're off.
Oh, great.
We're still recording.
I freaking colored